Okay,
Turn it
it's
up to
recording
our
now.
board. Okay.
Is there a way of seeing if anyone, reporters or the public, are attending?
I haven't heard, everybody was invited. We're really looking for Rachel and Courtney to join. There's
It
Rachel.
was coming on.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Rachel's apparently signed on enough to get her name up, but
You'll probably hear a little noise in my background once in a while because I'm trying to attend another meeting at the same time on the
So
computer.
you can
Wow.
mute when you're trying to do your other meeting.
Yeah, I'm not going to
Good.
speak there, but I'll try to keep it pretty low. But I just got to pay attention.
I checked the box that said full screen for participants. Did that make it look better to you guys or worse?
It just went full screen. We can't see each other now, but we can see the screen.
Okay,
I can see a bar across, but I'm looking on an iPad, so maybe I have a bigger.
we don't need that.
I see that Rachel's on, but she's muted. Rachel, if you're trying to talk, just undo your mute.
Hit that little speaker-looking thing. And the microphone. Yeah, it's muted.
Rachel, can you hear me? Okay, great. Yeah, I dialed in through my phone because my dog is here and she's, this is prime dog walking time, so she's going to be barking a lot. So I can mute myself.
We'll wait a couple minutes. Do we have a quorum already? Me, Candace, Edie, Howard, that's 4. Yeah, we have a quorum.
Let's go.
Yeah, wait just a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Did you hear from anyone else that they were planning to attend, Justin?
I did not hear from anyone else. Rachel, do you know if Courtney's going to join us?
I'm not sure. She forwarded me the login information, but she didn't say anything about being on the call. I guess my understanding was the primary discussion was going to be surrounding the feasibility study. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. If there's any comments or feedback on portions that are hers, I'll just take notes and pass them on to her then.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that file and then so we can all see it. And actually, if other people want to open the file from the link I sent, then we all could be seeing it live. Rachel, did you get the link? I think I sent that to you and Courtney.
Yeah, which link are you looking at? I've got the agenda and is there something else?
A separate email. It would have been what I did is I shared the file the Word file we've been marking up, and I shared it inside of Microsoft Office. So you probably got one of those like Justin Fuller has shared a file with you emails.
No, I see the WebEx, I see the agenda.
do you have that file he's talking about?
What?
Can you open that file he's talking about on your machine?
Which one?
Yeah,
The revised
I don't
version
see
of
it,
the-
Justin. Would you be able to send it to me again, please?
Yeah, let me see if this works.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't see it in my email, so I got it. It might have gotten.
Feasibility, I got it.
There.
Could you go to page 8, the end of the executive summary? Is that economic trends?
Yep. Let me make it bigger.
Does it look like it's made any of the changes I suggested here? Those changes I suggested might be wrong, but
No, they haven't been.
Nothing's changed. Okay. Let me check.
Gosh, this thing is not. Now I'm having difficulty opening the right file.
Page 17.
I don't think anything got changed, Mark. There might be markups from other people.
I'm just.
Justin, if you open a chat window, if you put that back on, would you be able to send it through the chat window for people?
Okay.
Yeah. Like for whatever reason, like I was working on the file and it didn't upload.
That's right. I remember editing the comments directly in this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this handwritten
Well, I have
version is
another
not the
version of
last
it.
version.
Okay, hold on. Sorry guys, just bear with me 1 second. I really want to get this file displayed that has all the updates.
I have an email from you with a link to the draft feasibility. Should I click on that link?
Yeah, give that a go. There's one, the one that we're working off of is called like revision 2, I think R2.
I'm trying not to touch my face.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have revision 2 up now, feasibility study.
Says Edie.
Yeah.
And it's got comments galore in it.
Yeah, I'm seeing, yeah.
A lot of blue and pink and purple and yellow.
Yeah. Okay. I sent. When was this sent, Justin? I still don't.
It's right in his last email.
Probably yesterday.
I have Monday, March 30th at 2:06. Joe, Gregory, John, Justin, Edie, Howard, official. I don't know who that is. Oh.
Okay, looks like it. My recent findings aren't in there. That's okay. Or comments, that's okay. All right.
Let's get closer to this one. Just take.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start the meeting. Can you guys see the agenda?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So first off, I just wanted to say that I hope you guys are all staying healthy and everybody is okay. And I appreciate you guys doing this WebEx thing. Michelle tells me this is the first time that the town has done it, so we are kind of the guinea pigs. So bear with us if we have any.
Test subjects.
Yeah.
DTC did it last night.
Oh, good.
We survived.
So, is the whole meeting going to be recorded? So it's got all the people that are here, the video. I don't have to worry about taking notes.
That is correct. Well, you will still have to submit minutes, though. So you,
Yeah, of course, right. Okay, that'll make it easier. So the first thing I guess we need a motion to approve the March 4th meeting minutes, and they were provided in the link. Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Oh, we could have done a poll. I see you can do a poll on WebEx. Then the other two, okay, the first two things I wanted to point out is that Michelle has posted the final SWOT report and the survey report to the EDC's website. You can click those links there and see those reports. They're right on the left-hand side of the EDC's webpage. Very easy to find. They look great, so I'm excited to get those up there. We have not sent a town announcement out yet, given the current COVID-19 situation. We'll work with Michelle and Tim to figure out when's the best time to do that. You know, I just don't want it to get lost in all the other important communications, but maybe people are looking for something else to read right now. So maybe it is a good time to send it out. But we have a draft together of some words to use, and we should be able to, when the time is right, we'll send out a communication pointing everybody to those reports.
Yeah, I wouldn't be adverse to publishing it and letting people know about it, and then publishing it a second time when things calm down again. You know, like, I think you're right. Some people might want the diversion, like me. I mean, I need something other to think about, but
Economic development sounds very hopeful.
yeah.
Yeah, Michelle, we'd like to ultimately, yeah, send an announcement and then get something up on Facebook. You know, some social media messaging. So if you guys, kind of nice having you on the meeting. I mean, if you just ask Tim if he thinks the time is right, and we can go ahead and send that out.
Yeah, I will definitely do that.
I think we could go either way. Now, we did talk at the last meeting about printing out a couple nice copies of these reports and binding them and such, so that, and then, you know, giving Tim a nice bound copy, and then maybe sending a copy to you know, the rest of the Board of Selectmen and some of the other commissions and boards.
Good idea.
Edie, did you make any progress on that? I know you were.
I am sorry, I really didn't. But I can look into it. I'm just making a note to myself now that I need to get that done. So.
Well, we just got the final PDF, you know, a couple of weeks ago, so it's not that big of a deal. But I think, yeah, if you want to maybe work with Michelle on that, because we talked about whether or not we should use probably be better just to pay to have it printed elsewhere than to use the.
Yeah, Michelle, are we still using Quality Printers? Is that the name of those guys?
We do use them, but CCM put out something about reduced printing prices. So Edie, if you want to chat with me about that outside of the meeting, we can figure out the best way to do it.
All right, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure.
This is Howard. I was wondering if it makes sense at some point to communicate with the people who attended the SWAT and the emails that we received from people who responded to the survey. Again, thanking them for their responses and pointing them to the results of all three.
I think that's a
really good idea.
We do that.
It's a good idea, but I don't think we have I'm not sure if we have a great list of attendees with email addresses. We could probably piece it together. I'm inclined just to blast it out there and let people find it.
I think people who attended, you know, have an I think we have an obligation to them, and I think they also were anticipating that they would get some kind of communication from us.
Do we have a sign-in sheet? I can't remember.
Yes, we have that. Yes, we have sign-in sheets for the SWAT, and I think we had quite a few emails. I would say probably over, you know, maybe 2/3 or so, as I remember it.
So
and we have quite a few
those records,
emails from the survey too.
Does CERC have those sign-ins? Or, sorry, Advanced Connecticut?
For the SWOT analysis, I don't know because I wasn't involved in that piece. I'd have to ask. But for the survey, I think if we have all of the survey results, we should have that portion of it.
Yeah,
I can ask Courtney if there's anything from the SWOT.
Survey respondents are 180 or something, and the SWAT attendees are like 60. So
I don't think we can send an email out to the survey, to the survey respondents. Not everybody put their email in, and then where they did, it's just like an Excel file dump, and I don't have the time to go through that and do that.
I mean, I
That's
could,
a
I
lot
could
of
take,
people.
But
I could
maybe
take the
someone else
Excel
could do
file
that,
and
though.
copy the emails, if that would help.
Yeah, I mean, if you're sending out a mass email, you should be able to just copy the list of emails from Excel and just paste it into your, I mean, we usually do it as a BCC, or if the town has like MailChimp or, you know, any kind of software that they use for regular mailings, that will do it too.
Yeah, the town does have a MailChimp account, so we could go that route if you wanted to.
Yeah, it'd be really easy to do in MailChimp. You just copy the column with the email list and paste it into MailChimp, and you're on your way. It's really easy. So that would be my recommendation.
Who has the MailChimp?
The town.
It would be me.
Oh, it would be you, okay.
You guys, this is Justin. You know, someone's going to have to draft up this thank you, and like I don't have the bandwidth to do this. So if you're Howard, if you want to do this, then I think you're going to.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to write something if I could work with someone on the technical side to get the emails. I mean, I could write a draft and we could review that. That should be pretty easy. I'll do that for sure. And then if whoever was just talking about, you know, helping on the technical side to get the emails together and sent out, that would be fine. I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah. And
that was me, Michelle. I'll help you with the IT part.
Great, thank you.
Guys, Courtney's on the line, but apparently we can't hear her, but she said we do have the sign-in sheets from the SWAT meetings.
Oh, great.
Right.
So.
Oh, is she call-in user 5?
I don't know, but she said she was talking, but we can't hear her. She
here,
just
but
texted.
can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yes,
Yes,
now
I
we
can
hear you.
now.
Yay, I've been talking and talking on, not on mute, and no one seems to be able to hear me, so here I am.
Wow. Oh,
But
yeah.
yes, we do have those SWAT sign-in sheets with emails,
Can
so
you
we can
send
do
me
that.
a copy of it and I'll put it into an email format?
Yeah, the only hesitation I have is that they're probably at the office, and we're not going to the office at the
you're not
time,
going
so I may need to get someone who's unfamiliar with our files to go into my office and help with that. So it may take a few days, but we'll do our best.
Okay, so it's decided. Edie and Howard are going to take the lead on sending out the thank you email.
So it's a thank you email and it's also a link to the results, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And link, okay.
Okay, I'm good with that. Sorry to be such a downer, but
Fine. No, it's
I
fine.
didn't
You're
have the
doing
time to
plenty.
do that.
Yeah, we know you don't have to, but I really feel strongly that, you know, people contributed to this. They haven't heard anything. It's been quite a few months, and I think we want to keep goodwill, and people, you know, are going to be, and a lot of people, I mean, we're very savvy about it, but a lot of people aren't going to go online and look for this stuff, no matter what we think. And we need to kind of reach out. We have to be a little bit more proactive.
Yeah, send it direct is great. Great idea. Okay. All right.
Okay, next up. So, feasibility studies. What I want to do is see if I can share my screen. Are you guys seeing my screen with the feasibility study?
Yep.
I'm trying to make you guys disappear from my screen. Okay. So what we've been doing, Rachel, is we've still been working on the same file that you sent us just before the last meeting. So whatever comments we shared on March 4th still apply. I remember the one that stands out is the comment we had on a couple of the charts that we thought were a little difficult to read.
Yeah,
But
the retail chart. Yep, that was noted.
So in addition to that, we've been working off of this file, and if you can't find the link, or if I didn't send it right, I'll redo that.
Yeah, I can't find it in my email, so if you could send it when you have a chance, that would be great.
See if it comes up here. RGRET, Gret and Cord.
Yep.
Gotta make you guys disappear. Click this thing. I can't click send because your guys' window. There we go. There we go. Okay. The content. I don't think there's any issue. We're going to continue to make comments in this file, and then you can see them and incorporate. Okay, it looks like it's all up to date. So I think we'll just go page by page if you guys want. I don't think we have to go through the whole document, but
Right. Okay.
some of the things I wanted to highlight was this paragraph here. It starts off with overall. This is a great summary, I thought, of the status quo. Without any further efforts, little development should be expected. So I'm wondering if there's a way that
screen or
Right, he's showing it there, and it's right here.
okay.
Can you guys still see the screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
What I'm wondering, kind of throughout this document, wherever there's like key pieces of information, is there a way to like make it stand out so that it's still professional looking, but yet like it draws the reader's eye? So like, I don't know, sometimes like when you have these special quotes, they'll indent it, put it in change the justification and indent it a little bit, or change the font.
Make it bold.
Yeah, I mean, we could boldface, a couple of lines you think are key. My only caution is you don't want to overuse that, but, certainly that's a way to highlight it. Or, for example, like that third paragraph down, if you like that paragraph, we could put another heading like, status quo, and then, below we could put opportunities or something. So, the heading kind of highlights, those paragraphs.
Right.
Yeah, depending on the context, there are certainly ways, if you'd let us know which things you think are really key, or that you really want to, drive home to your audience. It looks like you have some of them highlighted. So, we can certainly look at ways to, draw people's attention to that.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. So I think if as we all go through this, and if there's certain sections that you think need to stand out to the reader or later need to be summarized in a one-pager or key findings summary that we can send out to the other boards, like maybe highlight that or make a comment about that. I try to do that in a few places.
Did we say we were going to make like a PowerPoint deck that we were going to present to the other boards? We could earmark things that we thought would be appropriate to go in that piece.
Yeah, from our last meeting, we did talk about that. Did you send a proposal over for that? I can't remember. I saw one.
You're asking Rachel.
Or Courtney, yeah.
I think that'd be
No, we
Courtney.
didn't do that. We didn't do that. We want to, and we still intend to, but we just didn't get to it with all this other that came on quickly.
Yeah, that's
COVID-19 hijacked everyone's life.
Yeah, let's take.
I had a
take
thought,
that.
and I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Howard.
Okay, thanks. I had a thought, and I just don't know where to inject it, but it would seem to me, I think the whole report is very good. I'm pretty pleased with it. I have a couple of, suggestions, but I think the information is great. I do think it's pretty wordy, and I'm wondering if we should have actually in a piece in front of the executive summary with just the recommendations. So 9 recommendations, and keep each one to, 1 or 2 sentences. So it's very brief, so that people looking at this, especially online, will just see here's the key recommendations, and then the rest of this is in the back of it, including the executive summary that we have currently. But I just think this is going to be, if you put this online, I think it's going to be, a lot of people are never going to get through this.
Mhm.
And it would be great to highlight, the 9 recommendations.
So is 9 a special number for you?
No. It's a maximum probably, eh?
I'm just reading, what's there. There's 9 recommendations.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah.
What if it's just set up like the PowerPoint presentation as the front piece?
I like Edie's idea of keeping it consistent throughout all of our pieces. And so if we made like a bunch of bullet points, say 9 of them, and then use that in the PowerPoint and then use that at the front of this. And so people would say, man, those EDC people, they just keep going back to their 9 tenets. That's all we hear from them. It would actually get through.
Yeah, definitely.
So are we suggesting that, Howard, this kind of condensed summary is a standalone thing, or it's built into their formal report?
I think what I was proposing is that it be part of the report, but just standalone in front of this whole thing, so that people, here's the feasibility study, and right away you just see, it says feasibility study, here's the 9 major recommendations, boom, in 1 or 2 sentences. And then
You're talking about these 9 recommendations. You're talking about these 9 recommendations, right?
The opportunities?
I'm talking the executive summary. The executive summary has 9, and so that people can see those very clearly, and they stand out. And I think you'll get people more interested in this by seeing that, and then have what we currently have just sitting back of that. That's fine. But something very short and sweet that people say, here's what the feasibility studies recommend.
Yeah.
Why
We
don't
could
you
do
draft
that.
it?
Put
Why
in
don't
a
you draft it and
one-page.
send it in the email?
I mean, I would, people should weigh in.
I would
If you disagree, that's
I
fine.
would repeat it wherever you can. T-shirts, mouse pads, the whole thing.
Yeah, right. No, send it in the email that directs them to reading the full report.
Excellent. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Instead of changing the way the report is presented.
Well, he's saying keep the report as it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I'm keeping the report just as it is. I'm just
Would
putting
you
it in
just
front
have,
of the executive summary, just kind of, it's another
Howard,
summary.
if
I don't know, maybe you change the.
Yeah, we can
Or
do
it's
that,
a
and I'll
section.
shorten the 9 so that it fits on one
Right.
page. So you could print out that page, and it could be a standalone piece, but it's also included here. Yep, we can do that.
It would be like number 1, highlight Oldline's natural amenities. That would just be a big piece of text, and whatever you shorten it to on the rest of that paragraph would be below it. You know what I mean? So people aren't trying to read this whole thing. I think that's the problem
Right,
that Howard's
exactly.
seeing, is that,
Yeah.
if I read, consider appropriate location scale to facilitate the growth of supply chain and demographic support businesses, I don't want to read any more than that. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not even sure I understand that part.
Yeah, that
Okay.
part's
We try to make the language more accessible.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Accessible.
Yeah.
PowerPoint it, kind of,
Right.
Okay, that sounds good. Any comments on these 9 items?
Well,
the last one I read is really hard to understand, but
I mean, this is where, if anybody's going to spend, if we're going to spend, really want to spend some time, this is where we want to make sure that we get this right, if it's going to be the front and center.
okay, so we just
Yeah.
talked about one of them.
The last one, Edie was, and the last one was a little hard
Yeah.
to read.
What does that mean in English?
Edie, could you just repeat what you're?
consider appropriate location / scale to facilitate the growth of supply chain and demographic graphic support businesses. Not sure what that means.
Yeah.
So this is basically referring to other industries that aren't, kind of retail consumer centered. So, these would be your, your manufacturers, your administrative, other types of businesses that might be located in town. And, the point here that this kind of comes from, building off of the industry analysis that we did that kind of looked at what industries are strong in your entire region, not just in your town itself, right?
How about if you just say that? What industry is strong in there?
Right. So we highlighted a number that are growing in your region. But the important thing here is to figure out, some of those might not be an appropriate fit for Old Lyme, either because they're, heavy manufacturing and you don't have space for heavy manufacturing, or, I mean, that's just an example. I'm not saying you do.
Not going to build submarines here.
Right, but exactly. So, but it's considering, which of those companies, in the supply chain or that provide support services for those industries that are strong might be a good fit for, the commercial space that you have available. So part of it is, where are the opportunities because of what's growing and what's strong here, and then which of those are a good fit for our town. So it's basically.
Could you say, as you did at the beginning when you were trying to explain it?
Yeah.
Say encourage the non-retail businesses that non-retail commercial.
Yep.
Something like, I'm just looking for words that are not as much a term of art, not so precise, but like, more recognizable.
Like supply chain just goes right over people's heads.
Well, I'm kind of wondering, I felt like in the body of the report, there was a good discussion about what businesses would be a good fit.
Right.
Would this be the place that, number 9 would be, okay, the bolded part that's there, but then, a little bit of is here now, and then supplemented with, here's what we think would fit well. Like basically pull out that little nugget deep in the report and just pull it up. Here.
Give us an answer.
I might suggest that, when the way it's written, a layperson's going to read that and not know what the heck that bolded title is.
Yes.
Right.
Perhaps something more like along the lines of, most people might understand an industrial concentration or maybe a commercial concentration. Right. So maybe to respin it a little bit so it's not in economist speak.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yep.
I think the word industrial is going to kind of scare people.
No, it's going to be commercial.
I think they're going to think we're thinking smokestacks and,
No, I'm thinking, one way might be, for example, we happen to have a lot of scientists and a lot of engineers in this town. So those might be maybe, I don't know, concentrations by skill set of the town's residents. Sounds too clinical to me for what a layperson's going to understand.
How about business to business is always a good dodge.
So isn't the section that I'm displaying here kind of what you were talking about, the stores that have a niche market that would appeal to the character of Old Lyme would be a good fit?
I think that section is more specific to retail, but basically we're applying that same concept to the non-retail commercial sectors is the idea.
Well, we're not really talking about the resources of the population in Old Lyme. We're talking about the actual industries out there, or are we talking about like?
Well, I think your question is around if we bring in a particular industry, are they dependent on drawing their employees from Old Lyme? For instance, if you had, just speaking from my own
business, like if you had a clinical research organization, many of your employees might work remotely. So it doesn't really matter whether there are people who know how to do clinical research in Old Lyme. But other businesses, you know, may need to draw on engineers and scientists in Old Lyme. So I think it depends on the business.
Okay.
I mean, I have nothing against having a business in Old Lyme that has all their employees remote, as long as they pay taxes and you know, keep their nose clean. I think actually down on 156 near the beach, there's that there's a small mall kind of with a bunch of businesses in there, and one of them is medical research. And I don't know if their employees, I think I know one person who works there and he's local, but I don't know if their employees are local or not.
Okay, so regarding number 9, Rachel, you heard the discussion. We'll
Yep.
kind of clarify.
Yeah, we'll try to make that language a little more accessible to a little non-technical. Yep,
Yeah.
got it.
This last paragraph is a summary of what our next step is. You know, developing a strategic plan, capitalizing on these opportunities. If there's a way to even pull that out as
that should
reorganize
be really
headings
big.
and stuff, but phase 2, that's EDC 2021 right there.
Right, it is.
2020, 2021. So there's a comment that Candace made in a few places I agree with.
Howard, what do you?
Oh yeah, that was we changed that language in the survey summary, so we'll change it here as well.
One here, reticent. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was something that it was copied over from the survey summary. We changed it there, so we'll make the same edits here as in the other document.
Okay. There's a little bit of background from somebody's.
I think it's Howard's other name.
Not me. No, it's not
It's me. It's me. My husband's being noisy.
Usually I am noisy, Edie, but I'm not.
Innocent this time.
Rachel, there is so much good stuff in here. I was really impressed.
It really is very good.
It is. It's an excellent job.
Okay, good. Yeah, I hope you find it helpful. You know, some groups like to have the, full detailed analysis so they can really dig into, what's going on in their town. And some people are like, just give me the 2-page summary and stick the rest in an appendix and I don't care. So, but yeah, there really is a lot to work with. So, hopefully this is something that you, and the other, the other commissions and boards and things will really be able to use to move things forward. That's obviously always our goal. So I'm glad that you're.
Yeah, we're hoping.
We're
hoping that happens.
About just pulling together some of the graphs and stuff with better labels and all that. And we don't need to go over that again, do we, Justin? I mean, that was.
No, yeah, I think the final version. You'll want to have them so they line up on the pages better and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't worry too much about specific layout and stuff yet, but once we make all the edits, we'll tidy that up. But certainly, it was noted last time that some of the graphs, could use some clarification. So if you see anything that, puzzles you or just says, this could be presented a little better, if you just want to note it in the document, then we can take a look at it as we go through and make the edits.
And you have a record of some of the ones that we did discuss, correct?
The ones that were discussed in the last meeting, I have notes on, but if there's anything else that pops out at you, you can go ahead and just put it in this document and we'll, work on it as we go through the edits.
I thought this section here was a good summary for Halls Road. The retail segments with the greatest potential for success in Halls Road are likely smaller shops with goods and services that cater to the unique demographics. Retailers that create unique shopping experiences or businesses that provide entertainment factor. And the reason for that is laid out well above. One thing we've been talking about, and I'm sure the Halls Road Committee has been talking a lot about, is okay, even so you do fix things up and you have additional retail there. What do you put there? And one of the goals we wanted out of this project for the EDC was to help with that. So if you're going to go look for developers to, spend money and invest in the buildings, they need to know and have an idea of who they're going to rent to.
Yeah.
Right.
So do you feel like we have some leads in this document, or is it more vague?
Pretty high level, I thought. I thought there was a good explanation of what probably won't work.
Okay.
I
mean, there's
Can I
also
make
just
a
the
comment?
obvious.
Yeah.
Let me make an overall comment, and it's really a question. If I go through here, for instance, in the various categories on building on the arts and culture, which I think is extremely important, because if you look at Old Lyme, we talk about having competition from the other neighboring towns, and what makes us distinct and different from everyone else, and I think our competitive advantage, is the arts.
Right.
And so I think there are a number of, the statement on the arts is very general. I can think of a number of specific ideas like building an arts branding campaign. And then when I go to encourage support of local businesses, I could think of 3 very specific ideas, that we've talked about. For instance, we could have a welcoming package that goes through, how the town interacts with businesses, the regulations, blah, 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 what the committees do and everything, and kind of give a new business some publicity. We could have a business spotlight. We could do more additional detail on helping home business. So there's a number of very specific things, and I don't know. My question is, should we just leave this as it is, because it's pretty detailed in itself, and use those as part of the implementation strategy, or should we include any of those in here? And that's just a general, and I'm asking maybe Courtney and CERC's experience, where does that fit in? How does that, because I can think of, for each of these things, some additional specific ideas.
Yeah, I mean, we offered ideas together with the research team, and then the municipal team got together and came up with what we thought were sort of signature ideas, I'll say, and that it certainly wasn't meant to exhaust all of the options.
Right. Yeah.
And in a previous iteration of these kinds of reports, we were always able to help sort of say, well, we're going to be on the ground with you, and we can help you, flesh out the others. So that landscape obviously has changed a little bit, but that's not to say that we're not available to help flesh out those in the future. And maybe since it's sort of could be, you could have so much that maybe leave it to the extent that what we've included, and maybe a couple of other key ones that you all decide that you want to have in there, and then the rest you all are doing that flesh out as the EDC. I mean, that's going to be your activities and your tasks over the next several years.
Okay, so we should think through that a little bit. Like, for instance, I can see where some of the ones I mentioned might be in the implementation stage, but to me, I think, like having a arts branding campaign is kind of really important. Maybe if we agree it is, I'm just assuming it is, I'm kind of jumping there. But
I'm with you, Howard. I'm not seeing, where does the arts kind of fall into, maybe I'm not looking in the report, but does like, surplus of art-driven business stuff in the area, or is that really a niche for Old Line?
Well, I think, I mean, there's arts all around us, but I think our community is specifically known for that. I think, you know, right, you have a museum, you have an art association, you have an art school, and you have some galleries, including the Cooley Gallery, which is an internationally renowned gallery, been around for about 30 years and is known, you know, outside of Old Lyme and outside of the country. So there's a really strong tradition of the arts here, and there are tremendous numbers of artists in town of all kinds. So, and that's, I mean, when everyone else is going to do the same thing, everyone else is going to be looking at, you know, other businesses just as we are. And, you know, why are we going to track them versus East Lyme or Old Saybrook, who are bigger? So I think to be successful, you got to, you know, when I was looked at businesses and did consulting, you know, what are your core competencies? What distinguishes you from everyone else? And one of the things to me is the arts. And I think we need to leverage that in both not only potentially attracting businesses around that, which is not easy because those businesses are typically small and are challenged, but it also attracts people into the town, so who are going to spend money in our other businesses. So it's a two-way street. You know, it's attracting arts-based businesses, but it's also bringing people to Old Lyme to see art and then, you know, spend money here on our other businesses. So I think it's just tied together.
Howard, I don't disagree that art is, you know, a long-term presence in Old Lyme, but if you look at it, I don't know if Rachel or Courtney could volunteer an economic assessment, but right now, what makes the payroll for the residents of Old Lyme? I mean, it's Electric Boat, it used to be Pfizer, it will be Millstone for a while. What else? You know, I mean, the arts, I would say, what percent of gross dollars, you know, earned in the town of Old Lyme come from art?
I don't think it's about that. I think it's about the branding of the town. The only thing that makes Old Lyme different than Essex or Saybrook or Niantic is the arts. That's what Howard's point is. It's not about income levels. It's about the brand of the town, and it's art and history, the culture. You know, those are the things. You know, it has a very strong women's suffrage movement. Those are the things that make it different than Saybrook, different than Clinton, different than Chester. And you need something that says, this is what Old Lyme is. And clearly, you know, we have practically no income producing businesses right in the town of Old Lyme. As you just mentioned, everything you just mentioned is outside of Old Lyme.
Right. You see, the where I'm going with this is, what are the skills that earn money that are in our town? How do we leverage, you know, allowing people having those skills to create new enterprises?
Well, I think we're talking about two really different things. We're talking of one, like Joe is talking about how do people in Old Lyme earn their money. And then the arts are more about how do people in Old Lyme spend their money. I mean, and to make a link between the two, I mean, people at Pfizer bought so many of those red poppy paintings that were for sale around town. I mean, almost everybody who worked for Pfizer had one in their house. So,
All right.
I mean, there was like a line. You had to get in line to get one because they couldn't crank them out fast enough. So I think they're just they're two different issues we're talking about, which is, I mean, the way people in town earn their money can definitely be either remotely, like I do, or from a different town, but where we want them to spend the money in town. They want to buy their coffee and their art and their socks here in town.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think there's kind of a multi-pronged approach that you want to think about here. And one is, I guess this kind of gets to Howard's point. Somebody's driving down the highway, or they're moving. They got a new job at Electric Boat and they're moving to the area. Why do they want to come to Old Lyme? What's going to make them get off there at exit 71 instead of keep on driving? So what is that attraction? Who are we, and why are we special, and why is this an awesome, fun, cool, exciting, whatever whatever the words are that you want to use, quaint, New England charm. Right. Why is that? What is it that's going to make people say, oh yeah, I want to come hang out here in the Halls Road area, right? So that's one thing. And then if you're looking at more commercial businesses where you're talking about, okay, what skills do we have in town? What kind of businesses are we going to attract? That's not necessarily exclusive, mutually exclusive, but if you're looking at more, non-retail, non-consumer facing, businesses, then you need to think about, okay, yeah, what are our skills? What are the things that are growing in our region? And, what spaces do we have available for those types of businesses? Do we have the right zoning in place? Courtney should probably be talking about this a little more than me, but, and these are not mutually exclusive, right? So, you can be doing both. You can be doing some of the place making, making Halls Road cool, place to hang out, as well as making sure that, as businesses grow or in the region that, Old Lyme has space available for certain types of businesses that are appropriate for your town to, make sure that those companies know that they're welcome, the zoning is easy, the regulatory process is easy, and we have our arms open if you want to come here. We're going to make your life as easy as possible to do that, right?
I agree with that. Yep, just exactly what you said.
So, we got 10 minutes left. So most of these charts, so the charts that we had issues with before are the ones that look like this.
Yep.
Yeah, we discussed those already, I think, so we can work on the presentation of those.
I think most of the rest are okay, in my opinion. Any comments on the housing section? I know that's been of interest to especially Halls Road folks. Maybe you guys didn't get that far. I don't see any comments over here.
I don't know if I have. Yeah. What page is that?
Take a look. I don't have a lot of.
Page 7 is analysis.
Oh, there's one.
Oh, there we go.
Page 7, there's housing analysis.
Right. And then where is that in the body? There we go. Page 22 in the body.
22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the comment here?
There's a comment about occupancy rates, asking if they reflect the summer rental business.
Yeah.
The rental vacancy rate is 18%, which is, double most everything else. And they're suggesting, I think, that that's because a lot of these are seasonal rentals.
Yeah, that could be, that data, I can footnote that. The data is from the Census Bureau, and I believe they do sample several times throughout the year. So I can note that.
Yeah, because it might be an artifact just of the. I think a significant portion of all the rental stock in the town is summer rental. That's just my guess, but you know,
A lot of them aren't even habitable in the winter.
winter, right?
Oh,
Summer
okay.
rental because there's no heat, or because
Right.
there's no water in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's very
Okay.
difficult to rent an old line for outside of summer. There's not a lot of options.
I mean, and I think it might tie into that whole question that in order to make the town grow, which is, you know, in the very beginning, you say, basically the town's doing nothing. But in order to make the town grow, we need other types of housing opportunities to allow for other types of income levels of people to live here, to work here. And we really don't have anything like that that's of any substance.
And in addition to that, when you get to Halls Road, to make that viable long-term, we can't have Halls Road just close up at 5 o'clock if we're not going to attract businesses that people told us they would like to see in the survey and the SWOT. And you got to have some kind of housing in that neighborhood, in the Halls Road neighborhood, so that there are people who will be, engaging the businesses after 5 o'clock.
Right.
Or else that long-term viability of Halls Road is not going to be there.
Well, and also if you tie it into the fact that no developer who's sane is really developing a lot of retail, they're developing residential. So that's a whole nother piece to this puzzle.
Well, they're actively developing mixed use, in fact. So
and mixed use, but retail is standalone. Retail is dead. So that's it's kind of, in order to draw any new developers into town, we need to be allowing them to do some residential mixed use situations in order to encourage that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see post-virus, what that Halls Road area looks like. How many of those businesses are going to still be there?
Yeah.
well, the restaurants are bound to be the hardest hit, I would think.
Well, the Bowerbird, which is
Not too good
a
either,
very
right?
important business to town, they were struggling, according to the owner in her article when they just had their anniversary. She was losing a lot of business to, the internet and online already.
Yeah.
And so you have that, you wonder about that hardware store, the office supply store, the restaurants. There's, 3 restaurants on each side, from in that area. So yeah, it's going to be
And I think
challenging.
Or actually,
like page 28 has a great, it gives that future housing demand recap, which I think is good. I mean, it's useful
Yeah, as I continue to go through this again, there's some really good learnings about old Lyme specific that we want to be in a summary. And I can't recall, if all of these are captured in those 9 items up above, but there's really good stuff.
Yeah, in the executive summary, I tried to pull out the key data points in the second portion, and so that when people read the executive summary, they say, okay, here are the findings, and then pull out kind of the key data points from the larger report that specifically supported those findings. But certainly, if there's anything else that stands out to you guys that we need to highlight, definitely flag it so that we can, because the connection's got to make sense to, the people in your town, which is different from, me as an outside observer looking at this data. So
yeah, I don't remember if it's in the 9 points, but maybe we have 10 points that include the future housing demand. I don't remember if that's in that first batch, 10 things.
Yeah, I think there was one about housing, about expanding the
Yes.
variety of housing options. If I recall correctly, there should be.
Business.
Yeah.
During
I had a
trade,
comment
provide
earlier.
diverse housing options. Yeah, number 6.
I had a comment earlier about the
Page 29.
definition on page 29. The definition of headship is not, I mean, that word didn't immediately translate into anything comprehensible.
Turning to headship rates, or the portion of the population by age that is head of household.
Okay, there we go. It was fixed. Good.
Yeah.
But you know, you might
Headship is a weird word.
bold the word headship so that there's somebody looking at the just looking at the graphs and charts won't be totally lost. They'll know where to look. What does headship mean?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can footnote it too at the first
That would be great.
mention.
I think a footnote there would
Okay.
be good.
Good idea.
So Edie, I just pulled up the 9 points and number 6 says simply provide diverse housing options.
Yep.
So I think we're covered.
Yes. Thank you.
Good, good.
Rachel, you guys did such a good job with the hyperlinking in the survey, and I think in a report like this, that would really add a lot of value for the reader. So in your key summary findings or whatever, if it's housing, if there's a place to put the hyperlink into that part of the report, or a good table of contents. I'm not sure if there is a table of contents or not.
If there's not, there will be in the final. We'll have put in a table of contents. Okay, but yeah, we should be able to do that as well in the executive summary hyperlink to the different sections so that someone could skip right to it if they wanted to see more detail.
Yeah, if you can see in my screen, like the future housing demand here is showing up as a embedded link in the navigation bar, but the overall heading I don't think is for some reason.
Okay, we'll fix that and I'll make sure in the final PDF that there are hyperlinks. Yeah, okay.
All right, 1 minute. Let me go back to the agenda. Let's, it's okay if we go over a little bit, but really I just, okay, let's put a pin in this one. So I mean, I'll make sure that Advanced Connecticut has if it's okay with them, I'll just have the living file with these comments in it. And then I'd ask the EDC members to, in a very short period of time, I would say within the next few days, maybe week at the most, like go in and make sure if you have any final comments especially based on the discussion we had today, go ahead and make those comments in the file. So because we need to tell them at some point, okay, we're done with our round of commenting, and then they can go work on a new version. Why don't we say 1 week from today? That'll be April 7th. Whatever. And 8th. Whatever next Wednesday is. And then,
So that's
from there.
Final comments for the feasibility study. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
The feasibility study, yep.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And before our next meeting, and I don't know, I know you guys are super busy. I've been following what's going on with you guys in the state right now. So let us know. It would be good to know how long it would take to get the new version. I don't know, Rachel, can you take a guess based on what you see here now? I mean,
yeah, I mean, to be honest, our workflow is changing on a day-to-day basis at this point. I mean, I want to say maybe a month or so, but please don't hold me to that yet because I want to talk with my boss and see, what the workflow looks like. Assuming you guys are, largely happy with the content, we need to redo a few graphics, clarify a few things. As long as, nothing crazy new pops out, that would be my best guess. But,
I think it's mostly editorial here.
Tentative guess.
Yeah, no, and I think, as the EDC, I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I mean, what you're doing to help the small businesses and keep people employed and make sure they have access to the loans that are out there. And, that that helps Old Lyme economically. We don't want to get in the way of that. So I don't want to say that. I mean, this is still important because we do need to get
Right, yeah.
it to the Planning Commission, which was the next thing on the agenda. So we don't need to spend any more time on the POCD. But once we have this final, you know, we want to make sure we get it over to the Planning Commission for the POCD update.
Right, right. And we want you to have, you know, the final in a timely manner so that you can move forward with your, you know, not only your economic development strategy, but any, you know, immediate recovery, you know, plans or strategy that you need to be working on. So, and I think this will be helpful for all of those things. So we'll definitely, you know, do our best to work it in as soon as possible. I just, I'm hesitant to commit without, you know, talking with Alyssa first to make sure that, you know.
Yeah, we understand. Why don't maybe around, you know, midweek next week, if you could get me some feedback on that, at least we'll know where we are stand with going into the next meeting, because we're gonna keep it scheduled for now. I think it's May 6th. So, you know, in the best case world, it would be nice to have a final draft to review by then. But we are flexible. We understand what you're working on. So. On the agenda, I had it on here about, it just didn't seem right to not include this, but does anybody have any thoughts or comments about, the impact of the pandemic on the Old Lyme business community? I mean, Howard and I talked several times over the last month trying to figure out if the EDC should send out some special communication to town residents or town businesses about, you know, what help is out there for them during this time. But once I started seeing everything coming from the state and Advanced Connecticut and even the chamber, I didn't think it was appropriate for us to try to get in the middle of that and potentially cause any kind of confusion or have the wrong hyperlink in something, God forbid. So, does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I agree.
Well, let me just tell you what it did. I agree. You know, we talked about that and agreed that we didn't want to get in the way, and you know, our ability to provide anything, you know, more useful than was out there is questionable. But it's interesting. I did forward a couple of things. For instance, High Hopes was totally unaware that one of the things available from the state is to help pay employees of nonprofits. So they were thrilled that I referred that. They had no idea about it. And I also sent that to the museum, but I didn't hear from Becky. But so that did work. But I agree. I'm not sure there's anything. I can't think of what we would say or do that would really be useful at this point.
It sounds like what you did do was really helpful. I wonder if you included LYSB in your distribution.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. If one nonprofit didn't know about that, I wonder if maybe I think Tim, is Michelle still on? I know Tim has been sending out some regular communication for him to just have a footnote in there about, because I think the town nonprofits like LYSB, you know, they get those and they're involved in that, you know, communication channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anybody has any thoughts on what we could do or what we should be doing differently, just send an email out to the group and we'll, we can do something. But
one thought is keep in contact with the selectmen and selectwomen as to anything they learn that we could help disseminate, because I'm sure they've got their hands full.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think they've been doing a pretty good job. I mean, I've been pretty impressed with the stuff that's flowing from the town and from, you know, our senators and our representatives at all levels seem to be right on top of it.
I mean, we have a little bit, we have kind of a haphazard list. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You finish
I
your
was
thought.
gonna say, we have a list of, the businesses in Old Lyme that we put together when we were distributing the invitations to the SWAT. It's a bit haphazard. It's a little bit, it's out of date. But, Candace's comment is still resonating with me. I mean, it's like if we have, if we had a better list of like, all right, here are all these types of organizations in Old Lyme, and we could just hit, email all, that is something we probably should try and work on and make sure we have in our toolbox.
We were working on stuff like that for Halls Road too. So, I think both those things could be merged together and made available. It's not that hard to do. I did it for Halls Road, and you could start with that list and add to it.
Doesn't the chamber do that as well?
Chamber's pretty
Yes, yeah.
unusable.
If you subscribe to their communications, what they send out is okay. It pretty much what they typically do, from my experience, it seems like they take the stuff they get from the state and then resend it to their distribution. I could be wrong, but
You mean like the state chamber, not the Old Lyme chamber?
No, the Old Lyme chamber.
Yeah, we've been getting some in the Old Lyme chamber, but it's just a copy. It's just a forward of the same email that the State Department sends. The last on the agenda was. Oh, go ahead, Howard.
I was just going to quickly mention I did attend the Planning Commission meeting and presented them with the SWOT and the survey, and kind of gave them a little preview of the feasibility study. I think Harold was appreciative of that. There were still, there's members of that committee who really, I don't know how to put it, but they're not interested in receiving any information outside of the committee, and they feel they have a good handle on the town and weren't really interested. But I think
I didn't get that at all when I talked to them.
Well, when I went there to give them this, that was kind of what what happened. But I think Harold was very appreciative, and he was interested, and I think one or two other people might have been.
So in the same vein, I had a driveway conversation with my neighbor, Mike Fogliano, who's on the affordable housing. And he was very receptive to what we'd done and was looking forward to partnering with us to move forward.
Good.
So wait, Howard, what was the ultimate? What isn't this into the hands of the Planning Commission, and for them, their consideration in the POCD is like the most important thing that needs to happen this year.
Right. Well, I'm just hoping, like I said, I think Harold was very interested and open and seemed to have some questions, and I hope he just drives it, home, that, this is valuable. I tried to say to them, hey, look, there are places like East Lyme have gone out and just tried to create their own survey just to receive feedback for that whole process that you're going through. And here we're handing it to you on a silver platter. It's already been done. You don't have to do anything. And by the way, our response rate is tremendous, and it really represents what the town feels.
Yeah.
A couple of people snickered at that, actually just really snickered, like, so what? And there were people on the committee who were saying yes, and Harold was one of them, and there were one or two others.
And I think we just have to play to the more positive side of this and just keep giving them the information. And
Right.
Harold is a smart guy, and he's
yeah. I'm hoping that he drives
he's got
it.
a couple people
yeah.
there that are just naysayers to anything changing in Old Lyme. So, but at the same time, the current POCD is already saying exactly what we're saying has to happen. So it's in there, and now it's just more definite information to help back that up. So
yeah, the sooner we can get them this feasibility study, the better.
Yep.
It'll be done.
I did try to whet their appetite by giving a little bit of the information from there, It was trying to point out how useful it would be because there was so much good data, very valuable data and very specific and just the kind of things that would fit right into what exactly they're doing.
Yeah.
Maybe if you speak to their pocketbooks and note that this was
Save the money.
I mean, we were granted the permission to do this by the Board of Finance, and they expect to get a return on their investment.
Right. Good
I
point.
agree with you.
Edie, do you have any thing you want to share about what's going on at the Halls Road?
Well, so far, before all the disaster began, we had up to 3 people that are making proposals for a master plan. I just got the first one from the BSC group, who are the folks that have done stuff at Soundview. And basically the master plan is what we're kind of relying on to help us on multiple levels, also to start getting the zoning changes in gear and guidelines for that. Now, what I just got from the BSC is a very introductory level of a master plan, and I think I expected them to give me something beyond what I got here, and I'm going to reread it and see what it's about. But they're trying to keep their number low so that the town is willing to pay to do it. The other thing that came up is we did present to the finance committee that we needed money for a master plan. And I had information from the BSC of saying it was around 20,000 for this first stage. And it came up during that meeting that the town has had this money earmarked for Halls Road for a TIF project, as well as the Yale group, of around $44,000. So far, we spent $13,000 of that. So they keep passing it along every year as though that money's earmarked for us. But we didn't do the TIF project at all. We had no movement on that and decided against it. So they actually said, well, maybe we can get this master plan going before July even, so that we can get you guys going and get the sidewalk project started. So the master plan would help inform the help get grants to do the actual work for the sidewalks. It wouldn't necessarily, we can't get grants to do the design work for that, but definitely for doing the actual construction, there's grants available out there for that kind of work. So there's a lot of things the master plan will help us with, and that's kind of what we're focusing on right now.
There might be a whole lot more money coming your way with the if Congress does something with an infrastructure bill that might be geared towards helping fund these types of grants and projects to get Main Street going again.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Right. Gold-plated
Edie,
sidewalk.
you might just quickly want to mention what we're doing on zoning too.
Okay, yeah. So
Our
in our
efforts,
last meeting, we did manage to get Ray, who is a lawyer, to head up the committee to get zoning to start working on a village district. So basically making it into more of a mixed use area, which is key to doing anything. We actually got a query from someone recently that's a developer who wants to buy the property between Essex Savings Bank and Treasures and put in an 8-unit residential thing. Well, they can't possibly do that because it's not zoned for residential. It's only commercial there. So, but I did manage to have a conversation with him and discuss what his plans are. And he's a developer. He's done a lot of stuff in Chester. And he's in the throes of buying a property on Library Lane. So he's getting into being an old Lyme and interested in Halls Road. So that's a good thing. And, I was worried that he'd get pissed off that he couldn't do anything right away, but it sounds like he's in for more of a longer range situation. So that's good.
That's encouraging. Yeah.
You might want to mention the meeting with, Edie and I did meet with the new chair of the zoning report. And they were kind of, we're pleased with that meeting. They were really very willing to look at changing the zoning to, as Edie described.
Yeah, they sort of said you need another committee to do the zoning, so we're we're sort of getting onto that. So I think that's, you know, with Ray and probably Howard and I will help him out a little bit. And also Cheryl Hoyer, who's a new member, is very active in helping work on some communications plans for Hulls Road. And she's got a lot of good ideas of doing like a newsletter for businesses and property owners, as well as a quarterly newsletter for the citizens in Old Lyme. So we got to get that thing up and running, but she's working on that for us.
Nice. Man, you guys, it's a good update.
Yeah.
All fronts. All right. Well, if it's all right with you guys, let's put an end to it.
Yeah.
I just want one thing to say to Courtney and her team. You know, we've been a long process, and now that we kind of getting toward the end and look at the output that you've provided, you know, I think we're a heck of a lot better than we ever were before, and we have a lot of very valuable information that's going to allow us to go forward. So thank you for all
Thanks for
that.
saying that. I appreciate that. And we hoped that that would be the outcome. And to us, it doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as, you know, you all are satisfied and you can actually use the information in a way that's going to work for you all. So thank you for saying that. But we'll continue along with you, and, you know, any advice or guidance that we can give, we're happy to do so.
Right.
Yeah, I second that 100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought this report did a really good job pulling in everything too. So we got the separate survey and SWOT documents, but yet this thing does a good job taking those learnings and building on them and including them there. So it's great. Let me ask, I see a call-in user 6. Is that, I don't know who that is. If I don't know if that's someone from the public, but is there anybody that has a question that they'd like to ask the EDC, especially if that's a member of the public? Or unless it's one of you guys.
Or maybe is it Michelle or?
No,
Michelle had her name up.
No, that's true.
If there's anybody listening who has a question for the EDC, you know, we'd be happy to field it.
It'll be done in 10 minutes.
You have to unmute though.
Unmute all. All right. There we go. They're calling user 6. Have a question?
They appear to be hoisting the chainsaw.
All right. With that, then we'll close the meeting, and I appreciate you guys making the effort and doing this WebEx thing. I thought it went pretty well, actually.
Yeah, pretty good.
So, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So let's get all of our final comments in within the next week or so, and then we'll turn that back over to CERC and Advanced Connecticut and let them do a final draft and maybe vote to approve next meeting and be done.
Okay,
Great.
sounds good. Thanks a lot.
All right.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Justin.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.